Hi, I'm Peggy, an artist at the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. Welcome to Sensory Explorations. Today's theme is flower power. Artists have always been inspired by flowers. Here at the Carter, we have works on paper, photographs, sculpture, and paintings that feature beautiful blossoms. Whether it's a single bud or a beautiful bouquet, artists create these types of things, sometimes realistically and sometimes in an abstract way. We're going to spend some time looking at 4 different artworks in our museum that feature flowers. We're going to learn 3 facts about each artwork and then have something to think about. After, we're going to watch a few short videos from our friends at BRIT, Botanical Research Institute of Texas. Let's go look at some flowers. Our first artwork is In the Night Garden by Natasha Bowden, created in 2020. It's mixed media. Our first interesting fact is that this artwork is a larger-than-life installation that comes out at different levels, sort of like a stage set. The second interesting fact is that Natasha Bowden didn't depict any particular flower or leaf. They're combinations of things like hibiscus and poppies. The third interesting fact is that Natasha was inspired by fascinating stories, things from poems, comic books, children's books, and fables. Now let's think. Are there any books that you've read that have interesting plants or flowers? What are they? The second artwork we're going to look at is a still life of flowers and fruit with a river landscape in the distance, painted by Severin Rosen in 1867. It's an oil on canvas. The first interesting fact about this artwork is that the artist traveled all over the state of Pennsylvania, staying in one city at several weeks at a time, to paint elaborate floral scenes. He painted over 300 in his lifetime. The second interesting fact is that this artist depicts a number of flowers like irises, roses, and morning glories, to name a few. However, not all of these blooms grew at the same time of the year. The third interesting fact is that Rosen was inspired by traditional European painters from the 1600s who would paint large, elaborate, beautiful scenes of flowers. Now let's think. If you could create a still life of all your favorite flowers, whether they grew during the same time of year or not, what would you include? The third artwork we're going to spend time with is Red Cannas, painted by Georgia O'Keeffe in 1927. It is an oil on canvas. The first interesting fact is that O'Keeffe painted several outdoor subjects, but she's best known for painting flowers. The second interesting fact is that this is a particular plant called a red canna, like the title suggests. It grows in late spring into the fall. The third interesting fact is that Georgia O'Keeffe and her husband had a vacation home in upstate New York. There were plenty of plants and flowers that really inspired her, like the red cannas. Now let's think. Have you ever looked at a plant or a leaf really close? If you were to paint your favorite flower, what details would you focus on? Our fourth artwork is Plant Form, created by Robert Laurent between 1924 and 1928. It's made of stained fruit wood. The first interesting fact about this artwork is that Laurent carved this sculpture out of one piece of wood he found in Maine. He didn't have a plan for what he was going to do. Instead, the shape came to him as he carved. The second interesting fact is that this is no particular plant type, but a kind of generic plant. He painted the outside of it green and the inside of it gold to suggest an emerging bud. The third interesting fact is that Laurent was inspired by the human figure, and this is meant to mimic the human body. Now let's think. Are there certain poses your body can make that mimic things you see in nature? Let's give it a try. Now that we've checked out beautiful blossoms in our museum, let's learn a little more from our botanist friends over at the BRIT.
Hi, my name is Manuela Del Forno and I am one of the researchers here at the Fort Worth Botanic Garden and Botanical Research Institute of Texas. Right now we are at the Sumner Molecular and Structural Lab. And as a researcher, we can ask all sorts of cool questions, but here we focus primarily on understanding how plants have evolved and diversified. And just like us humans, plants have relationships, and we can study that with the use of DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, the molecule that contains our genetic code. And by sequencing and studying plants' DNA, we can better understand our planet's diversity, discover new species, and recognize important genes for plant adaptation and survival.
People sometimes ask as a plant scientist what my favorite part of the plant is. Is it a flower? Is it the leaves? Now I like what's underground. Let's talk about roots. Roots are a super important part of the plant. Roots do three main things. One, they absorb water and nutrients from the ground. Plants don't drink from their leaves, they drink from the roots. Two, roots store energy. In some plants, they store energy like in this carrot or this sweet potato. And three, roots anchor a plant in the soil that provides stability so a big tall tree won't blow down in a hard wind. Most roots look like this, with very fine roots, and on top of those fine roots, you have little tiny hairs growing out, and that's where all the drinking happens. Most people think that big trees like this just have deep roots that go down to get water, but they have horizontal roots, those fine roots I was talking about, in the first 12 inches of the soil that run all the way out to here. So the next time you're thinking about plants, don't forget to think about roots. There's a whole world beneath your feet.
I'm Brandy Watts, the BRIT librarian, and behind me you will see that we're in the library's rare book room, which in many ways is the jewel of our collection. Today I will be showing a selection of illustrations of night-blooming flowers. The first illustration is of a moonflower from the Solanaceae family, which is also known as the nightshade family. This is from the publication Garden Flora. The second illustration is from Curtis's Botanical magazine and is also a moonflower, though it's from the Morning Glory family. The last three illustrations are from the Cactaceae family, also known as the cactus family, specifically of the night-blooming cereus. This is from Adansonia. This is from Britain and Rose. And this is from Curtis's Botanical magazine.
Hi, I'm Morgan, and I'm a botanist at the Fort Worth Botanic Garden and Botanical Research Institute of Texas. I'm excited to talk to you today about flower power because, let's face it, what's not to love about flowers? They're beautiful and ridiculously diverse. But my favorite thing about flowers? They're the only thing on earth that produces fruit. Take, for example, one of my favorites, chocolate. There are about 400,000 species of plants on earth that produce flowers, and that means almost 500,000 different types of fruits. I'm a specialist in the sunflower family, which is interesting because it contains almost as many species as all amphibians, birds, mammals, and reptiles combined. Plants in the sunflower family are easy to recognize because of the way flowers are arranged in the head. Take, for example, this dandelion. Many people think this is just a single flower, but it's actually composed of many small flowers, each producing its own tiny fruit. The next time you sit down and eat your favorite fruit, think about where it came from. Flowers make the world go round.
Hi, my name is Snatch, and I'm an autistic digitization worker at my local herbarium. But what is a herbarium and why do I work there? Herbarium means plant place in Latin, so a herbarium is a special place for plants. Botanists, which are plant scientists, collect plant specimens from all over the world and bring them to a herbarium so other botanists can study them. But what if you don't live next to a herbarium, or you can't reach one easily? That's where digitization workers like me come in. Digitization means we make things digital, which means we upload it to the internet. When we take a picture of one of our plant specimens, we also type in all its information into a computer so we can put the picture and its information online. A lot like labeling a photograph. From the internet, friends and scientists anywhere in the world can look at plant specimens from any herbarium they want. Thanks for listening.